What's up, y'all? This is Revolutionary Fitness Radio, episode 18.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is here.
Welcome to another episode of Revolutionary Fitness Radio. I'm your host, Sean Garcia, and this is a podcast dedicated to bringing health, fitness, and wellness to the people. Our goal, empowering you all to understand your body, treat it well, and give you the tools to become an agent of change in your community through helping others. Let's move together.
Yeah. The perseverance of a rebel, I drop heavier levels, is unseen or heard. A king with words, can't knock the hustle, but I've seen street dreams deferred. Dark spots in my mind where the scene occurred. Some say I'm too deep, I'm in too deep to sleep. Through me, Muhammad will forever speak. Greet brothers with handshakes on ghetto landscapes, where a man is determined by how much a man makes. Pop cognacs and spit old raps with young cats with cigarettes in their ear. Niggerish stay appear under the FUBU is a guru. That's untapped. Wanna be in the rat race, but ain't ran one lap. Ran so far.
On today's show, we have Justine Rose. Justine is a people's trainer for Revolutionary Fitness, and you can check out more information about our people's trainer program at our website, revolutionaryfitness.org. But Justine is she's been a trainer with us for nearly 4 or 5 months now, but we've known Justine for a long time. Justine comes to us with years of experience as a kettlebell instructor. She recently, about a year ago, gave birth to her first child, and so we wanted to do an episode talking about staying fit as a mother. You know, how can you have a fit pregnancy? How can you get fit after pregnancy? And what are some of the common hurdles that women and their partners have to deal with pregnancies and becoming a new mom? So we think you guys would benefit from this. This is something that everyone should check out. Men, women, parents, kids. I think everyone will get a lot of benefit from hearing what Justine has to say and some great suggestions on how to incorporate more fitness into your lifestyle and your family. Hope you enjoy.
This industry will make you lose intensity. The common sense in me remembers the basement.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of Revolutionary Fitness Radio. Today we have on the show Justine Rose, who is actually a people's trainer with Revolutionary Fitness. Justine's been working with us for a couple months now, but we've known Justine for a long time, and we're really happy to have her on the show. How you doing, Justine?
Really well. How are you?
I'm doing good. So the first question that we always ask everybody is, how'd you get into, fitness? How'd you get into exercise, and what's your journey been like?
So I want to say, it started a few years ago, this level of commitment. My husband and I, we got married, we went off and honeymooned, and we were newlyweds for a bit. And in that process, both of us gained a lot of weight. And at some point, about 2 years, a year and a half into our marriage, we were like, this isn't healthy. We aren't looking good. We aren't feeling good. Let's make a change. And so together we decided that we would change the way we ate, change some serious bad eating habits from the processed foods and sugary stuff and stuff that we could just find in our neighborhood, to cooking more at home and integrating more vegetables into our diet, really lean meats and that stuff, which really helped us both cut a lot of weight. So when we had started this in 2011, I was at 160 pounds, and I'm only 5'2", so that is pretty heavy for someone my height. And also just my body structure. I never ever, before that, I had never ever went past 125 pounds. So from 125 pounds to 160, it was a tremendous amount of weight gain. And it happened over time. It happened within a few years. So it wasn't something that happened, really quickly, but, we definitely felt the effects of it. So by January, it was a New Year's resolution in 2011. And by May, I was down to 130 pounds. And I felt really, really good. And at that point, I had decided that I wanted to push myself to the next level. It wasn't just about eating right, but it was also about incorporating healthy exercise habits. Prior to getting married, I was also really, I wouldn't necessarily say the fittest person, but definitely active. All through my childhood, I played all street sports you could think of: kickball, softball, handball, soccer. I'd run, I'd bike everywhere. And then in high school, I practiced tons of yoga with one of my teachers. She was a yoga instructor, and so she kind of took me under her wing, and I would do yoga with her at least 3 times a week. And then I went off to college, and in college I took yoga as a physical education credit, and that was amazing. But then post-college and post-marriage and all of this, like I lost it somewhere in between all of that. And so I wanted to kind of reclaim, my body and reclaim my fitness goals and just like get back into it. So we had some friends. We had a friend who was really into kettlebells, and he was going for his certification. He wanted to share all his knowledge with us. And so we took a seminar with him, and it blew our minds. It was amazing. It was great. And then, somewhere along the way, we lost that. We lost touch with him. And during my weight loss goals, I found out about this class that another one of our friends was having down by Canal Street. And it was just, I just thought I was going to go, drop in, check it out, see how it was. And if I liked it, then I'd stick with it. If not, then I'd find something else. Turned out that I loved it. And so I stuck with it. I was super motivated. The energy in the room, it was an all-women's class, and so the energy in there was just amazing. It was like super empowering to be around that many women who all had the same goal in mind. And so by December, I started with them doing this kind of workout in, I want to say like May, June. And then by December, I was asked to become an instructor with them. And I couldn't say no to that. And that was probably the best I've ever felt in my life in terms of like fitness and how I looked. And at some point I was asked to be in a DVD, doing this workout with them. And I said yes, I did that. And I just continued just working out and doing everything, doing kettlebells and just doing it there at the class and also doing it here at home and bringing what I knew here at home and incorporating it with my husband and doing it with him and showing him all my new moves and working out together. And it was just something that I now am completely interested in and don't think about anything else but fitness and working out and eating healthy. And I think this is the way that everyone should be. Everyone should think about, how they want to better themselves, how they should eat, how they should work out, what new things they can do to make themselves feel better and look better.
Definitely. So it sounds like I think a lot of people can relate to your experience about, being active in your teens and college and then in your early 20s, just falling apart, falling off the boat, doing all this crazy stuff. And then in your mid-20s, like, what the hell happened to my body? And making transformations. So that's something I think a lot of people can connect to. But I think, too, what you're saying is that because of the support of your husband and your friends, you were able to discover fitness, really, bring it into your lifestyle, and you had that support from all these different avenues. So let's fast forward to when you are now you're a trainer, you're leading kettlebell classes downtown, and so you find out that you're pregnant, right? Is that what happens somewhere at that point?
Yeah. So I was doing a group fitness class downtown. I started that like in December of 2011, and by June 2012, I find out I'm pregnant, and I, of course, was super excited, elated that I was having a baby. And so, a lot of people would think that hey, you're doing kettlebells, you know, you may want to take it easy. There's some moves that you shouldn't really be doing. At the time, I was also practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which, you know, it's contact martial art, contact sport. So, you know, that was another thing that people were like, maybe you want to stop that as well. And I didn't stop doing anything for a while.
Can you talk about why you think people think you should have stopped and why you challenge that thought process?
I mean, a lot of times people are in fear that, you know, you could lose the baby, that, you know, once you become pregnant, you should really just, you know, become passive. And I just feel like, honestly, it's all a scam, honestly. Like, it's about making more money. Like, women should sit at home and just eat and indulge and kind of forget about your body and forget about who you are. Because now you have this life inside of you, and so you just need to nurture that. And absolutely, you do need to nurture that. But what about nurturing yourself as you nurture your baby? And so I wanted to challenge that. And luckily, my doctor, the OBGYN, she was avid runner, and she knew about me before I was pregnant. She knew that I was an instructor. She knew that I was doing martial arts, and her advice to me was, keep doing everything you're doing. Don't stop. Don't stop doing it because you're told to stop by other people. Stop when you feel like you want to stop. Stop because you feel like, maybe I shouldn't do that move because it can hurt me or it can hurt the baby. But don't stop because someone else is telling you to stop. And so because I had her as a support as well, I think it was easier for me to be able to continue to push myself and say, wait, no, I can do this. You know, my baby's okay and I'm okay, so I can do this. So lifting the 25, 30-pound kettlebell wasn't scary to me because, A, I already had the prior knowledge of how to use it, but also I knew that there was no way that this was going to affect or harm my baby. So with kettlebells, I continued to work out throughout my entire pregnancy with kettlebells, and I continued to teach the group fitness class until my third trimester. The only reason why I stopped teaching the group fitness class at the end of my pregnancy was just because it was way downtown, and I lived and worked in the Bronx, uptown, and so my fear was more so commuting all the way downtown and going into labor on the train. My fear was not teaching and going into labor in class. That was never a problem for me. So I was like, if it happens here, it happens here. My fear was more so being stuck on the train, honestly.
That's hilarious. So I know too that, you know, because of the knowledge that you had, you were able to, and probably you had support, you know, from friends and family again to keep going and keep challenging this stuff. Was there ever a time though you second guess yourself? Because I know there's periods when I truly believe something, but like 20 people are telling me the opposite, and it makes me second guess and it makes me question if I'm making the right choice. Did you ever go through that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and it happened more so with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not with kettlebells. I feel like more so with kettlebells, everyone's like, wow, you're still doing that? That's dope. Go you. You know, at least the majority of the people that I encountered, if anyone did have something negative to say, I don't feel like they said it directly to me. But with jiu-jitsu, because it is a contact sport and it is about pushing and pulling and people applying pressure and weight and all of this stuff, that I did second guess myself. And I did eventually stop doing it during my pregnancy as my belly got bigger. But within the first trimester, I had no issues whatsoever. And I mean, there were some people who were a little bit more hesitant about doing stuff with me. But it's also about finding your training partners and people who know you and trust you as their training partner as well. And if I'm saying, hey, I'm okay, this is fine, then people need to be able to understand and trust you and trust your instinct, right? So the only reason why I stopped actually with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was because my belly started getting in the way. You know, it got bigger. And when I say I practiced it, I wasn't like sparring really hard or anything with people. What I was doing was I was just drilling techniques. arm locks, wrist locks, things of that nature, more so than, people sitting on my stomach,
Right, for sure. Well, I'm sorry. I was gonna ask if during the pregnancy, did you feel any did the kettlebells and the fitness training do anything for your pregnancy? Do you think you benefited from it?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, outside of just normal like staying in shape, was there any added benefit to the pregnancy?
I feel like it helped with my breathing. You're swinging this kettlebell, it's heavy, right? And so you're swinging, you're working your cardio, and you're doing all of this. So when do you need your cardio to work for you best? I don't know, when you're pushing your baby out, right? So
I wouldn't know. Is that a really cardio intensive moment?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's moments where you're holding your breath for long periods of time, and then there's like this strong release, So yeah, kettlebells helped with my breathing 110%. I felt like there was many times at my old job. Now I'm a stay-at-home mom, but at my old job I was pregnant and working, and there was many times that the elevator was out, and we worked on the third floor. People would be so upset and wait by the elevator until the elevator worked. And here I am, 7-8 months pregnant, like, elevator's up, okay, I'll use the stairs. I mean, they're not the shortest flight of stairs, but whatever, they're stairs, it's okay, it's not the end of the world, And so I just felt like I showed the people at my old job, like, if I'm walking up a flight of stairs, 3 flights of stairs, you can do it too. It might take me a little bit longer. It might take you a little bit longer. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We have people forget to move.
Yeah, definitely. Well, from my studies and my pre and postnatal studies, I know that obviously one of the biggest issues for expecting mothers is the medical industry trying to force mothers into, having scheduled pregnancies and doing C-sections and, really, cutting women up and unnecessarily. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money behind C-sections, but I think there's stats saying that there's been a 300% increase in C-sections in the past 20 years in the United States. And so there's a lot of big business promoting that and obviously influencing the doctors and the nurses to, kind of push them in that direction. But one of the biggest issues for C-sections is because the birth canal is being restricted because of some tightness or misalignment of the hip. And kettlebells especially, works on great realignment of the hip and a strong, potential birth canal. It keeps things flexible. It keeps things strong. It keeps the pelvic floor strong. So that obviously adds to, having healthier childbirths and, not being forced into surgery. And of course, having the strong abdomen to get through, get through labor.
Yeah, absolutely. I was fortunate enough that, my husband and I, we did the research, and learned that yes, C-section rates have gone up tremendously. But the doctor that I had, again, the hospital she was affiliated with, we got a tour of the hospital and we met with the staff prior to me giving birth. And fortunately, the hospital prides themselves on having low C-section rates. The only time I would say that I was quote unquote threatened with having a scheduled birth was if my child was born extremely late, if we were past due by 3 weeks, I think it was. Right. It was like he was due on Valentine's Day, and my doctor told me, okay, if he's not here by the end of February, then we would have to go in and take him out. Because at that point they're afraid of harming the baby or harming me, and that was understood. But other than that, prior to, no threats of C-section, and I'm one of the lucky ones. Like, I feel like I'm really fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I was a C-section baby. But I had the umbilical cord
Yeah.
around my neck, so I was like, ugh, choking out. But it explains a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
about
I mean,
me.
and that's the fear. And that's the fear for many doctors is
Yeah.
that, the later it is, that there's less room for the baby to move around and more things can happen. And, like you, I was a C-section baby as well. And I'm really happy that my son was not. My son was a vaginal birth,
Awesome.
and I mean, it was still really intense, hard labor. My labor was extremely, extremely long, and I mean, it really had nothing to do with the baby. The baby was completely fine. He was absolutely healthy. It was more so me. I just wouldn't dilate, which is why my labor was so long.
Mm. So, next question I wanted to ask was, we talked about the effect that you feel like the training had on you and being, fit and being pregnant. And, well, obviously, too, there's hurdles that you're dealing with. It's not, oh, you do a bunch of kettlebell workouts and everything's perfect during your pregnancy. You still had some hurdles. You want to talk about that?
I worked out. I tried to incorporate a workout at least every day during my pregnancy. And there were days when I knew that I couldn't because I was too tired. I was working full time. And by full time, I mean, 9, I would get there at 9, and sometimes I wouldn't leave the office till 6, 7.
Yeah.
So, and I was doing that for a reason. It wasn't like it was expected of me to stay there. I was doing that because I knew I was going to be leaving soon. And so I wanted to make sure things were good at my job, upon me leaving, that they were okay. So I was working extra long hours. So that also meant that I was also really fatigued, between working, getting up early and staying at work late and being pregnant. Things like working out didn't happen every day, even though I wanted it to. And I'm not saying like I wanted to do the most intense workout, because during my pregnancy, that was never my goal. My goal was never to like do the most intense workout I've ever done in my life, but just work out and feel good that I did something to get my heart rate going a little bit faster, that I pushed my breathing, that I swung the kettlebell, or, the days that I knew that I wasn't going to be able to work out, that I walked home instead, instead of taking the bus. I worked 5 minutes away from home on bus. Walking, it took about 25 minutes or so. And so on those days that I knew that I was going to be leaving later, I was figuring out, okay, if I'm leaving a little bit later, then what can I do to still incorporate some movement for my day? Because I work in an office, and so a lot of my day was spent sitting down. And the next best thing for me, and what felt really good, was walk. Just forget the bus. You have the bus pass, but forget it. Just get moving and walk home, And, also I think for a lot of pregnant women in particular, a hurdle is eating, figuring out what to eat when you're pregnant, and also like finding the right balance of food. And so I definitely, like all people, struggled with, eating healthy, but also caving in and like giving in to the cravings of ice cream, and not feeling guilty about it, and knowing that, I'm pregnant and I want ice cream, so I'm going to have ice cream every once in a while. So
And I do the same thing.
I say that, and you're not pregnant, I say that to say, like, it's okay to live. It's okay to live a little, but what are you also doing to feel good? You're doing this because it makes you feel good in the moment, because you're satisfying, this urge. But what are you doing to feel good in the long term?
So the next question I want to ask before we go to break is, obviously we're talking about how you were affected during the pregnancy and, from being fit and staying in shape, but also what influence do you think it had on others? What influence did it have on other expecting mothers, other pregnant women, maybe just friends and family? What effect do you think it had on them in terms of their, reflection on what you were doing, and were you inspiring others? Were you, what effect do you think it had?
Well, I know for a fact with my group fitness class, all the women were super duper inspired by me. They couldn't believe that I was like 8 months pregnant and still either teaching a class or taking a class. They're right alongside with them. And I had many times women come up to me and tell me, you know, if you can do this while you're pregnant, and you have another life going inside of you, I think I could do this regularly. You know, not saying that it's not a great workout, but wow, you know, I feel completely inspired by you. And I've also had women who told me at the end of class, that they were really upset when they saw me in the beginning of class, that they were really upset to see me as the instructor because they thought that the workout was going to be really, really lame. And this is a quote from someone exactly. They thought the workout was going to be awful and lame because I was pregnant. But by the end of class, she was completely drenched and she could not believe how amazing it was and how much of a good time she had and how worked out she felt. And that alone, that I felt inspired. I was like, wow, you know, if I can do this for all the women in this class, this is great, you know. It felt good to be able to just do that for one person. And my hope was that, you know, I continue to inspire women, all the women there who were not pregnant, but who were thinking possibly of getting pregnant one day and knowing that, you know, they had an instructor once who taught class and took class, you know, who was pregnant.
Do you think that's a common thing, this kind of prejudice against pregnant women, this misconception of weakness and lack of capability? Yeah,
I feel like, you know, people see a pregnant woman and they think of her as weak, you know. Yes, we are carrying another life. That doesn't mean don't get up and give us your seat on the train. Please still do that. Because, yes, we still are tired and our feet, yes, definitely hurt. But it's not to say that we're completely, you know, docile and weak and passive. Like, no, we got it going on. I can carry, you know, this belly and a bag and do all the things that I need to do and get done.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll take a quick break just on that. And when we come back, we'll talk about how you've been staying in shape after birth. The harder challenge.
Sounds good.
All right, be back.
We used to be number 10, now we permanently one. In the battle, lost my finger. Mike became my arm, pistol nozzle, it's your nasal. Blood becomes lukewarm, tell them, come on, be easy now, squeeze this shaman. Test why cleft, see that flesh get scorned. Beat so bad, make you feel like you ain't wanting to be born, John. And tell your friends, stay the hell out of my lord. Chicken George became dead George, stealing chickens from my farm. Another dead pigeon. If you're mafiosis, then I'm bringing on hatred Sicilian. Nobody shoot me. My body's made a hand grenade. Girl bled to death while she was tongue kissing the razor blade. That sounds sick, maybe one day I'll write the horror. Blackula comes to the ghetto. Jackson Acura. Stevie Wonder sees crack babies becoming enemies in their own families. I'ma get them come, you know what we soon done. Gun by my side just in case I gotta run. A boy on the side of Babylon trying to front like you're down with Mount Zion.
Rap tunes on flat spoons, take no shorts like poo-poos. See Gucci's, pop Gucci's for Gucci's and Lucci. Find me in my Mitsubishi, eating sushi, bumping Fuji. Hey, try to take the crew and we don't play. Say, like Paul McCartney, not hardly on. Look it up, I can see right through your bluff. Niggas huffing, they puff, but they can't handle us. We bust, cause we fortified. I could never hide, secretly hot. Ride with cold cheese, died. I'm twisted, blacklisted by some other Negroes. Don't be move my polos on the first episode. You shouldn't diss refugees and the whole sound set booty and I have to respect Jersey cause I'm super fly when I'm super high on the Fuji line. Ooh la la la, it's the way that we rock when we doing our thing. Ooh la la la, it's the natural law that the refugees bring. Ooh la 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 la, so we think. Yeah.
I sit 90 degrees on the
All right, guys, so we're back here with Justine. Justine's a people's trainer with Revolutionary Fitness. Today we're talking about how to stay fit as a mother. So fit mommy is the subject of the show. Justine, how you feeling?
Really good, man.
Good. So before we left, we were talking about how you were staying in shape while you were pregnant. Leading up to your pregnancy. Even talked a little bit about your pregnancy and giving birth. But now we wanted to get more into you've had the baby, beautiful Ernesto, and so now there's different hurdles that you have to deal with. And I'm sure many people are very interested to hear what you have to say about this stuff. So right after you gave birth, were you working out? Were you teaching classes? You said you stopped teaching classes right before, but did you get back into it after you gave birth? What was that timeline like?
I did not get right back into it. After a woman gives birth, she is supposed to wait and be cleared by the doctor to do any physical activity. And the timeline for that is usually 6 weeks. So Ernesto was born on February 20th. I went back to my doctor 6 weeks later. And that was definitely one of the questions I had for my doctor. Aside from like, yeah, am I healthy? Okay, great. Can I work out? That was one of my like top questions for her. And she actually ran out the room before I could ask her that question. So I had to like stop her in the hall and was like, hey, you forgot to answer my one question. Can I work out? And she was like, oh yeah, definitely. Please go back doing whatever it is you want to do. Nice. And I was like, okay, great. Awesome. Sounds good. But then I left the doctor's office and I asked her that question just to know if from her perspective, from the doctor's perspective, if I was healthy enough to continue to work out. That didn't mean that I felt that I was ready to work out. And I think this is really important for all moms, new moms to do, is to really listen to your body. If you don't feel like you're ready, then don't do it. Because no one knows your body better than you. No doctor, no one knows your body better than you. And so I knew I physically did not feel ready to take on that challenge just yet. So I didn't start teaching classes right away. And I wasn't working out myself right away. The most expensive workout I was doing was going for walks in my neighborhood. And that was it. And that was just something personal for me. I just didn't feel like I was ready to commit to something, to commit to doing kettlebells or Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the way that I was doing it during my pregnancy or prior to my pregnancy. And I didn't feel completely ready, I want to say, until Ernesto was 3 months. And at that point, I felt like I could take on the world. At that point, I felt like, all right, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to swing my kettlebell. I'm ready to do some burpees. I'm ready to go for a light jog, something. And that's when I really started to recommit myself into working out. And the challenge was figuring out when that would happen.
So when you were pregnant, how much, if you don't mind sharing, how much weight did you put on?
It was crazy. I gained a lot. So at my first appointment, I was 135 pounds. By the end of my pregnancy, I was 185 pounds. So right before I gave birth to Ernesto, I was at 185. So
50 pounds.
Yeah. And at some point, I remember the doctor being a little like, that's a lot of weight because you're pretty small. You're pretty small framed. So she wanted to keep an eye on me for that stuff. So I remember like doing, figuring out if I had a gestational diabetes and all of that stuff, which all pregnant women have to take the test for or whatever. And luckily everything came out that I was fine and great and I was super healthy. I feel like a lot of times women fear that number and they fear that weight gain. And I say this to say, like, it's completely normal. Whatever weight you gain, like, that's the weight you gain because you have another life. I lost my weight really quickly. And I'm not saying that's going to be true for everyone. Everyone's body is very different. I was fortunate that I went from 185 pounds, and by 3 months, when Anessa was 3 months and I was ready to start working out again, I was down to 160.
Right. So you dropped 25 pounds with the baby, and then just, natural birth feeding, breastfeeding and all that stuff.
Exactly. And so, I was back at the weight that I was when I started, my fitness goals in 2011, and, for some that might feel like, man, I'm back at square one, like I'm back where I started. And for me, I was like, 160? This is no problem. I can lose this. I lost this before. I can do it again in no time, And I think having that self-confidence is what really helped me and what motivated me to get back down to my weight that I want to be at.
Well, I think it's a really important point. Not even, we're talking about, being a mother and pregnancy, and definitely in regards to that, but just in general, if people are working out regularly and they're eating well and they're on top of it, your body's transformations should be something that you embrace, and it shouldn't be like you're judging yourself or you're being hard on yourself because maybe you're not at a desired weight, or who knows what your body's what period is going through, you know what I mean? Especially for women, you guys go through so many different transformations throughout your life and rebirths throughout your life. But I think what you're saying is on point. You're saying you were eating healthy, you were trying to make good choices, you were trying to work out as often as possible. You still put on 50 pounds, but that wasn't something that crippled you mentally, but rather you were just like, I'm just going to go through the process. When I'm ready, I'm going to get back on it. And do you think that working out throughout your pregnancy helped with the transition, getting back into fitness once you were, feeling ready for it 3 months out after the pregnancy?
Absolutely. Because I was doing it during my whole pregnancy, it wasn't something that was lost. I feel a lot of times, it's harder to start something all over again, if you've stopped doing it for a long time. And so I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to go from being super fit, teaching classes, working out every day and having a blast to, I'm pregnant, that's it, it's done and over. And then, 10, 13 months later, okay, now I'm going to start thinking about this again, I wanted it to be something that I consistently did, and then, take the break that I needed to take after my son was born to then, okay, this is where I'm at. All right, I've only been out of it for this amount of time, which was only 3-4 months, as opposed to being out of it for 13, 14 months,
Right. Which most people find
that's a much longer time frame.
So a lot of women are dealing with the common issues women are dealing with after their pregnancy is obviously dropping the weight, but also those areas that, they feel subconscious about, their tummy, stretch marks, things like that. What do you think working out prior and during pregnancy, how did they benefit helping with those areas after pregnancy?
Yeah, working out while pregnant and prior to pregnancy and then post-pregnancy as well, all of it is going to help all those areas. Not saying that you're not going to get a stretch mark, because stretch marks are completely common, and stretch marks are common for everyone, not just pregnant people. Someone who goes from losing tons of weight, they may have stretch marks. But just the overall, I feel like tightness that I had, just like my abdomen during my pregnancy was, completely firm. And then post-pregnancy, I'm lucky enough that I didn't have any stretch marks. And I'm not saying that I would be upset if I had any, whatever. I have a kid, and some people say stretch marks are the tiger marks that prove, that you're a mom or whatever. And so drinking lots of water, things like that, I feel like the small things that a lot of people tend to forget about also help with the everyday stuff, those areas that most women are terrified to show, which are the tummy, the arms, the thighs, those areas. And I feel like, honestly, working out during your pregnancy is going to help keep it all together. And then working out when you're ready post-pregnancy is only going to benefit you all over again. It's not you're not going to like reteach your muscles how to do those moves. Your muscle remembers. There's something called muscle memory, right? So like your muscles are going to remember that you once did this. So it's going to pick it up very quickly.
That's awesome. How do you think I meant to ask this when we were talking about during pregnancy, but I guess, during pregnancy and after, how do you think your hormones were affected by, staying active and staying fit? Because a lot of women are dealing with, being inactive and their hormones just kind of going crazy, and really being victims to poor hormonal health. Do you think being fit helped with that?
Absolutely. I mean, when you're working out, you're releasing, I forget which hormone it is. Is it endorphin?
And serotonin, all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so like you're releasing, you're getting all of this, and I, my husband can say differently if he wants, but I honestly feel like I wasn't super hormonal at all. Like, I mean, yeah, I had my moments where I wanted to cry about something petty and ridiculous, but overall, I would say I was a super happy pregnant woman. And I think part of it is because I was eating right, I was working out, I was doing all these things that benefited me and the baby. So I feel like that even speaks to him as he's developing, like right now, currently, how, his personality is developing and who he's becoming as this like really happy little boy, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with me working out.
And I'm sure too, there's a lot of intangibles in there too that you feel like you see his health compared to other kids, his happiness, the moods, and there must be something related, huh?
Absolutely. I don't know how many times, something I read online about, a mother who's going through something with her kid, and and it's something that I've read, often, and it's like consistent. It's the same person, the same thing, the same things. And it's like, well, what was your house like during your pregnancy?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do? What did you not do during your pregnancy?
He wants to get in on the convo. I love it. So
he totally does.
It's awesome. So you've been breastfeeding since day one?
Yes.
And so how do you feel like breastfeeding has affected your health, and do you think it's something is a practice that most women should be gearing towards?
Yeah, I mean, if it's something, I think every woman should try it. And if you figure out that it's not something that you can do or that it's feasible for you, or you're not producing enough milk that's satisfying your baby, then there are other options for you to explore. But I say to everyone, every person I know who is currently pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, is at least try to breastfeed, because the love and that bond and that just, going back to the hormones, most people would be like, how are you surviving? My son would wake up literally every hour in the beginning and want to eat every hour. And he only ate for 5 minutes. So if I was lucky, I was sleeping for about 45 minutes at a time. This lasted for about 8 weeks. And it was because I was also committed to breastfeeding and only breastfeeding, because I could have easily been like, you know what, I'm going to sleep, someone shove a bottle in his mouth, I don't care, but I wasn't about that. I wanted I wanted both of us, to really experience breastfeeding and really give it a try. And I'm glad I did, because, he's 1 now. He just turned 1 2 weeks ago, and I'm still breastfeeding.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's a shame too that in our society that women don't, get a longer paid maternal leave, and and I mean men too. I mean, the father should get a maternity leave as well. I mean, I know in other healthcare systems like in Cuba, both the man and the woman get a year post birth for just paid maternity leave to take care of the baby and be available to breastfeed and be able to deal with the crazy sleep cycles. Have you found, because of the crazy sleep cycles, that it's affected your fitness level and maybe your husband's fitness level?
I want to say yes, just because I feel like we're not as, I don't want to say active, but because we are active, we have a walking 1-year-old or a running 1-year-old, so we're constantly behind him. Then we're playing with him, so we're active in that way. But we're not doing the things that he did before he was. We're not doing it as often or as much as we did, or as much as we'd like to. So now it's about, figuring out how to still incorporate, our exercise habits and fitness, into our everyday life.
So what are some strategies? Yeah, definitely, for you guys to be active in front of him. What are some strategies?
It's super important.
Yeah, what are some strategies that you would give mothers in terms of squeezing in the workouts while they're still dealing with this crazy schedule?
So in the very beginning, what I was doing, like once he was no longer waking up every hour on the hour, that's when I started to feel like I was ready to start working out again, which is when he was about 3 months. And, every baby naps, whether it's a 15-minute nap or an hour nap, there's still enough time to do something, to incorporate some type of routine. And in the beginning, in the early stages, babies nap a few times throughout the day. And so when they nap a few times throughout the day, that gives you more of an opportunity, I feel like, to do something. So I think it's really important for moms to schedule things, to really write stuff down. So, your baby's going to go down for a nap at, let's say, 10 a.m., then you need to figure out what you're going to do at 10 a.m. Are you going to eat breakfast at that time, or did you already have breakfast? If you already have breakfast, great. Then maybe that's when you want to incorporate the workout, And then at your baby's next nap time, then that's when maybe you can take a shower. That's how it worked for me, in the early stages. I knew that, at 12, he was down for a nap, and he was going to be down for at least an hour. And that was more than enough time for me to get a quick workout in and take a quick shower, so that way I can feel completely refreshed and ready for him when he woke up again.
Before that question, you were mentioning about how you thought it was important to influence your baby with movement and exercising. What were you saying with that? What do you think that's important?
Oh, I was saying that it's really important for him to see us moving and to see us, being healthy and doing stuff for us as well. He definitely knows that we love him and we're all about him. He has that security. And so I think it's important for him to see that we also love ourselves. That mommy loves herself, and it's important for mommy to work out, because that's going to make mommy be a better mommy, and that's going to make daddy be a better daddy if he's doing the things that he loves. And for him to see us working out together, as a couple, but also to see us working out apart from each other, and knowing that, mommy and daddy have different interests, and they're going to be doing their thing. And I think it's important for him to know that he's included in all of this, for him to work out with us. If he sees us doing a squat now, he squats down. We have kettlebells lined up here in our living room, and honestly, it's like really pretty close to all of his toys. It's like another toy for him. He takes a kettlebell. He can't lift it, but he can knock it down, and he gets a kick out of doing that, And I think it's important for him to see all of our workout tools. Like, we're not hiding it. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we've done before you. We're going to continue to do this because it's going to make us healthy and happy.
Yeah, it's mommy and daddy's toys. He knows that. He's like, mommy and daddy's toys.
Exactly.
So what would you think? Because a lot of women, who might be listening to this show, or just parents in general, might not be in such a great situation that you've been in, working out prior and during pregnancy. They might just be hearing this for the first time and dealing with a lot of hurdles post-pregnancy. What would you say to those mothers in terms of how can they, start strategizing and getting back into it and finding the confidence to work out again?
I would say, start small. Start, with with something at home. I'm not saying go out and search for something. You know, if you have a computer, you have access to YouTube and all of that, you know, YouTube some workout clips. There's tons of stuff online for moms, like postnatal yoga, Pilates, things like that, things that you don't need much equipment for, that you just need your body, you know, and get moving in that way. And honestly, I feel like if you write something down and you put it on the refrigerator or somewhere that, you know, you'll see it, your partner will see it every day, then it'll help you stay focused.
Right, definitely. You know, and just leading back to the last point that you were making about, you know, having healthy families and families that are moving and incorporating it into everyday family practice. I was just recently talking to a friend of mine who, you know, they have a 15-year-old brother who just doesn't like to work out and just doesn't like to move. And, you know, that's for someone from my generation, that's like kind of crazy to hear, like someone who's 15 who doesn't want to move. Like, that's what we did when we were teenagers, is go outside and run and play tag and play basketball. But we live in a generation now where there's so much sedentary lifestyle that kids actually see working out and moving as something foreign, as something that's like, you know, oh, I might be into that. That's maybe something I would do. They don't see it as everyday practice. And I think parents too have the responsibility in the process of raising their child to instill this notion of movement and how it's part of everyday life, and good nutrition is part of everyday life. It's not something in, you know, that some people do. It should be instilled in everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, for speaking for this generation, you know, it starts young. You know, I feel like they have to see it happen early on. You know, it's unfortunate that this 15-year-old doesn't see movement, you know, as something fun or exciting to do, you know. And my hope is that our son or nephew, like, he sees it like something that it just comes natural to him. It's not something that he has to really think about, you know, that he continues to move. Because if you look at a baby and you study a baby, that's all they're doing constantly, you know, they're constantly moving.
The last question I have for you is around nutrition, because I know you and your husband Fernando practice, you know, a certain style of eating. You guys eat like a form of paleo, right? And many people who are listening to this, they might not know what paleo is. They might know what it is, but the question I have is not so much on paleo, but rather on how do you think your dietary restrictions affect your child, and what kind of stuff, you know, now that he's getting a little older, he's, you know, breastfeeding and also eating, what kind of stuff are you allowing him to eat? What are you not allowing him to eat? How are you making those choices?
Yeah, we pretty much let him eat whatever we eat. Now that he's 1, he's pretty much open to eating anything and everything. So, you know, with paleo, dairy and grains and refined processed foods, sugars, stuff like that aren't allowed on the diet, which is completely fine by me in terms of like what I'm giving to my baby. Why should my child eat stuff that I'm not eating, you know? If I don't see them as healthy or, you know, as healthy, then why should I give them to my 1-year-old who is growing, you know? And honestly, he's getting the best of everything. His diet consists of tons of vegetables. Yesterday alone, he hasn't had lunch yet. He's about to have lunch now. But yesterday's lunch, you know, as a prime example of what he's eating, he had a root vegetable called malanga, mashed with kale in it. Also, he had roasted carrots and roasted cauliflower. Like, I feel like if you give that to any kid, they'd probably, who's never had vegetables before, they wouldn't like it, right? But if you give this to my kid, this is all my kid knows, you know, and it's started since he was 6 months. That's when we started introducing foods to him. And this is, you know, the only thing he knows is vegetables, you know. And I'm not saying he hasn't had any grains, you know, he's had rice. He's half Puerto Rican. So rice, you know, is something that is something that we all eat when we're with family and stuff like that. And so I'm not going to deprive him of those things, but things in moderation, you know. So when did he have rice for the first time? Thanksgiving, you know, we were with family. When did he have it again? Christmas, you know, his birthday, things, days like that, special events, special holidays. It's not going to be an everyday thing. One of the things that he hasn't had as of yet is dairy. The only dairy he's had was Greek yogurt, and that was, I was sick and I was on antibiotics. And so for health reasons, for like probiotic stuff, it was suggested that I give him Greek yogurt along with me eating Greek yogurt. And that's told to anyone who's on antibiotics. But that was the only time he's had any dairy. So he doesn't know what cheese tastes like. He hasn't found out, you know, he hasn't discovered those things yet. And I'm not saying he never will, but I think everything in moderation.
Well, you know, your kid is eating good when eating rice is a cheat meal. We're not talking about cookies. We're talking about eating rice. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's awesome. Well,
exactly. I mean, the first time he's had anything sweet, and you know, it was important. You know, it's always like, you know, it's his first birthday, so he has to eat a piece of cake because it's his birthday. And I definitely did not want to deprive my kid of his first birthday cake, but that cake that we had on his first birthday wasn't made, you know, with the worst ingredients. It was made actually with coconut flour and coconut milk. You know, there were still certain things that I paid attention to on that day that I wanted to make sure that followed our diet to some extent for his health benefits, you know?
Well, and you create that base and that foundation, and you know, you give Ernesto the tools, and whenever he starts, you know, being adventurous and trying different things and going through his own personal exploration, he has that base and foundation that you guys set for him. So I think that's a great way to look at it. So I think we're coming up on an hour. I think, you know, we got some good info out here. If there was anything else that you wanted to add, maybe to expecting mothers or mothers out there, or maybe even the fathers out there, you can go for it now. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, there was something I wanted to add about actually in terms of Ernesto's health, really quickly, is that a lot of times people fear what doctors have to say in terms of like what you need to feed your kid. Like I know a lot of times it's expected for kids to eat cereal, like get rice cereal or oatmeal cereal as a first food, and we decided completely against that. Not to give them cereal whatsoever and give them real food. We give them avocado. We give them bananas as the first meal. And what I say is, forget what the doctor says. Like, you're the parent. You know your kid, you know, better than anyone. Make the choices for your family and stick with them. You know, if you see something isn't going right, then you might want to change it, you know, but currently, like, we see our kid is completely happy and healthy and thriving. You know, every time we go to the doctor, he's gained the appropriate amount of weight. He's grown in terms of height. You know, everything is developing perfectly fine. And so we've never doubted what we're doing because everything else is A-okay. So it's like, why am I going to doubt it, you know?
Yeah, and do you have any suggestions for resources that people can do to, you know, check in on things? Is there any websites that you guys go to that you kind of look to for answers?
Yeah, I go to, one of my favorites is wholesomebaby.com. That one is for like first foods and stuff like that was really good. There's also another website that I recently discovered that it's really, really good. So it's like you're following the paleo diet or you want to follow the paleo diet, but you have kids and you don't know how to necessarily incorporate it into your lifestyle or into your kid's life. There's the Paleo Mom or paleomom.com. If you Google that, it'll definitely come up, and there's tons of resources on there.
Cool. We'll put those in the show notes for sure.
Yeah. they're awesome. It was really good. It's been really helpful in figuring out more food options for Ernesto.
Dope. Well, it sounds like little man is is talking just that. He wants some food options.
Absolutely.
So we'll let you guys go. But I want to thank you, and I also want to commend you for sticking it out and being a great example throughout your pregnancy, and even now, you're in the middle of teaching our kettlebell classes, and you got Ernesto strapped to your back, or you're teaching and you're taking him everywhere, and obviously you're trying to do what's best for you and your child, but there's also a great influence that you have on your community, and I just want to give you credit and props for that. So thank you for that, and thank you for the interview.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. All right, so we'll jam soon. I'll see you later tonight at kettlebell class.
Yes, see you tonight.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
Kids with guns, taken over, but it won't be long. They mesmerize skeletons. Kids with guns, easy does it, they got something to say. Drinking out, pacify, feeling souls, the street desire. Does it, they got something to say. Now they're turning